Hi there, friends. We just had Microsoft MVP and community friend Freek Berson on our second episode of Desktops in the Cloud.
Hi there.
And he's pushed the performance boundaries of WVD in ways I bet you haven't seen before. Join us as we start right now.
Hi there, friends, and welcome to Desktops in the Cloud, your new technical-driven video podcast with guest speakers from Microsoft Engineering and as well the worldwide virtual desktop communities.
And the feedback from our first episode has been way above our expectations. And if you're interested in participating in an episode, feel free to ping us on social media or our website, desktopsinthecloud.com.
So for the second episode, we have the privilege to have Microsoft MVP and community friend Freek Berson as a guest, showing us things that you never have seen before with WVD. So hi Freek, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. And thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on this second episode. So yeah, looking forward to this discussion and demo.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You are our official second community speaker. So can you tell a little bit about yourself, about your role, what you do in your daily job?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Freek Berson. I'm from the Netherlands. I primarily focus on anything that's related to application and desktop delivery using remoting technology. So it's what I enjoy doing. I've been in this space for many years, and I enjoy being both on the architectural side as well as doing actual technical implementations. Deep dives into technical issues is what I love to do as well. And excited to be here to share some of my experience with you guys today.
Yeah, so for the viewers that don't know what an MVP is or what your specialization in the MVP space is, can you tell a little bit more about that and how long you already are like an MVP?
Yeah, so I have been an MVP since 2011, so it's close to 10 years now. And it's on the remote desktop service specialty. So I've into many of the evolutions of RDS since many years. And I have a close connection to many of the people of the product teams in Redmond, discussing new features that are coming up, providing feedback, and having the privilege of testing early releases on what's coming. So I got that MVP awards based on things that I do back for the community. So I like to share my knowledge in terms of writing articles or doing videos or presenting sessions at conferences to share some of my knowledge back to the community. So I enjoy doing that. So it's a privilege.
So Freek, can you share with us a little bit just to level set the audience too, as well as your background into WVD, how you've seen the service evolve and where you see it today?
Sure. Yeah. So when I think about Windows Virtual Desktop, to me, it is all about being able to publish applications and desktops to the end user based on a remoting protocol. But when you think about that, that's not new technology, right? We've been doing that for many years, for 2 decades, even. So if you go all the way back to the earlier releases of Windows NT and Windows Server 2000 Terminal Server Edition, we were already publishing desktops to the end user back then. Hopefully, they do not look anything like the desktop we're using in WD today, but the concept is the same. So I've seen that evolve into remote desktop services and really brief into something that was called Azure Remote App, if you're still familiar with that, and then transitioning into RD 2.0 and RDMI, Remote Desktop Modern Infrastructure, which already got a lot of attention back then, to finally what you know as Windows Virtual Desktop today. So, but what I think is different about Windows Virtual Desktop when you compare it to all of its predecessors is that WVD allows you to change your focus. So it means that a big part of the Windows Virtual Desktop service is now a platform as a service model. Instead of IaaS virtual machines that you need to manage and maintain and update, you can change your focus now on what's really important, which is the end user experience. So how do we make sure that the perceived end user experience is good? How do we optimize our images and our applications? It's all focusing now on the actual session host, which has become really important. So I've seen that as a huge change of focus for customers that I'm working with. And as well, I see a different focus change for the cloud integrators and the system integrators who are helping their customers move towards Windows Virtual Desktop because, again, since they do not have to focus on all of those IaaS parts, they can focus now on what's important for them, which, in my opinion, should be automation. So I believe that any project you do or any implementation you do in Azure should be based on automation, whether it's ARM templates or REST API or whether PowerShell is your favorite tool. If you use any form of automation that can really help you really benefit from the Azure cloud in general and also from Windows Virtual Desktop. So yeah, I enjoy seeing where it came from and what it is today. So there has been a huge attention, obviously, for I think at least the past year.
Yeah, agreed. Automation is definitely how you maximize all your benefits and usage in the cloud. But I want to go back to what you said just a minute ago about customer experience. Can you tell us what you're seeing as the customer experiences and how they're using WVD?
Yeah, so we basically see two different ways of using Windows Virtual Desktop for our customers. We have the customers that are leveraging the full desktop scenario, so publishing a full desktop, including all of the applications to the end user. And we also see the remote app scenario still where we're not publishing a full desktop, but individual remote apps or a set of remote apps to the end user. What we see happening is that there are organizations that say our vision about the modern workplace is a physical device. That physical device is joined to Azure AD and managed by Microsoft Intune. And from that device, the user is able to access all of his SaaS applications and web-based applications and apps from the App Store, because all of these applications were already transformed by these application vendors. But they always have a handful, or maybe 100 Windows applications, traditional Windows applications that are in an MSI format or an executable on a network. And most often require an application backend and need to be close to the application backend in order to get the best performance. So those customers are using WVD to complete their modern workplace story by providing those remote apps and integrate them into their physical device, so their primary desktop. That's one scenario that we see. And the other one is the full desktop scenario where organizations, for example, are using thin clients or using shared devices or kiosk mode or have like really high requirements in terms of developers or R&D people who really need that full desktop. For those scenarios, we tend to use full desktop scenario that includes all of the applications. So that means that the primary desktop of the user is no longer the physical device, but the device in Windows Virtual Desktop. So that's the two scenarios we are seeing. And so obviously Windows Virtual Desktop got a huge attention in 2019. And this is something that I shared here. It's almost a year ago already. I think you both were there in person as well, to sort of capture the evolution of Windows Virtual Desktop over the back then past 2 years. So we've seen a lot of attention, even when it was still into RDMI preview, then became Windows Virtual Desktop during Ignite 2019. And there was a lot of attention during the last Ignite event, not only from Microsoft presenters, links during the keynotes presentations, but also a lot of ecosystem partners who were focusing on their solution and adding value on top of Windows Virtual Desktop as well. So, and obviously we then were all the COVID situation at the beginning of this year, which reached out to us because they suddenly realized we don't have a work from home solution for all of our employees or all of our applications or all of our personas or use cases. So we've done a lot of effort to help those organizations move to Windows Virtual Desktop to allow them to provide a work from home experience during these crazy times, right? So yeah, that's how we're experiencing WVD over the past year, I think.
Yeah, that's a great story, and I can definitely remember the moment while we released WVD to the public, and that was as well the conference where I get to meet Dean face to face. So I remember that sitting
That's
in front
great.
of the Microsoft Mechanics video, live audience there. So just regarding those use cases that you just called out. What about taking to the next level? We promised something in the opening, in the opening section, right? So what about design applications, like high-end applications, and things like that. Can you share some information about that?
Yeah, sure, happy to. So when we're talking about design applications, many people often refer to that as the high-end graphics applications. So the CAD/CAM applications, the design applications that really require that GPU to work and basically do not even launch if there is no GPU available. But many people do not realize that many other applications also benefit from a GPU. In fact, even quote unquote simple applications like your Office suite or your web browser or your Adobe suite, for example, they leverage from that GPU and are able to offload some of that CPU as well. So it's interesting when we have discussions with customers who have an on-prem environment and we're helping them move that workload, move those applications towards Windows Virtual Desktop. They now suddenly you run into discussions on whether or not to use a GPU inside Windows Virtual Desktop, which is strange because all of their physical devices have GPU. In fact, if you would go to an average hardware store, computer hardware store, or well, probably during this time you will order them online, but you will not be able to find a recent laptop without a GPU. So indicating that it's coming technology right now, but still it's a discussion when you're moving towards Windows Virtual Desktop. But I, of course, also do realize that a big part of that discussion is cost, right? An NV machine, the only one we had available for the past period before the latest AMD machines. These are expensive machines. If you have like 50 NV6 machines running 24/7, there will be a huge Azure consumption bill at the end of the month. Obviously, you can do scaling to sort of overcome that, but the cost for these machines is huge. So, but luckily, AMD now also provides another virtual machine inside Azure, the AS series, which is able to provide like a fraction of a GPU, like half a GPU or 1/4 or 1/8 of a GPU, to really support those scenarios that are not like a graphics intensive application, but still being able to leverage from that GPU. So I would really encourage customers and other partners to evaluate those VM sizes, to test them and benchmark them to see if that also provides benefit for their specific application landscape. And so to give you an example, I have a couple of educational customers. And these are, well, your traditional education buildings, right? Huge buildings with physical classrooms and physical machines. And the reason is that they are teaching their students to work with these design applications. So the CAD/CAM applications, the Google Sketchups, the Adobe suites, they're using that on those physical devices. So they were also hit by COVID-19, obviously, at the beginning of this year, which for them meant a full lockdown of the entire school. So suddenly, from one day to another, they did not have access to all of those GPU-empowered machines. They were not able to teach those lessons and have students attend those lessons or provide them with the ability to even do their homework. So we decided to help them out with Windows Virtual Desktop with a GPU-empowered host pool to publish their design-heavy applications. Show you today is using Google Sketchup inside Windows Virtual Desktop. And on top of that, we're also going to leverage the new technology MSIX App Attach. So not only will we be leveraging the SketchUp application inside that VM inside WVD, we'll also be live attaching that application to the end user without even installing it on it. So let's take a look. So this is my Windows Virtual Desktop client, and if I scroll down and open a GPU-empowered machine, in this case it's the NV6 machine, we can see that we have that great, the connection properties available. But more importantly, if we go to the console panel on this machine, we can clearly tell that there's no Google SketchUp available. So, and also if we go to the start menu, we start searching for SketchUp. There's no SketchUp available here. So let's now on the fly attach the Google SketchUp application for this user by simulating the staging and attaching process of this application. Again, we do not have the time to go over those details, but it basically makes the application available to the end user instantly without installing it. So now revisiting the start menu, if you go to look for SketchUp, is actually there. So we open it up, and it has the look and feel of any MSIX native application, because this application was being transformed by the transformation tool. Obviously, I have to do a couple of trial things here because I didn't purchase that application for this demo. But as you can see, I can open up a model and I can start to interact with it. So once we zoom into this 3D world here, we can see that the performance is pretty good. So without having really a beefy machine on the client side, we are able to access these applications, and they were able to use these applications and continue their lessons and continue the ability for students to access these machines to perform well their tasks and their homework to be able to continue their school. So it was good to see that besides the performance, it also is able to attach it on the fly really quick. Just to show you real quick that it is in fact attached, here is that disk that contains the Google Sketchup application. And if we now go to the share where that application is hosted, we can see that there's a VHD file there indicating that it was attached on the fly. So similar to attaching, we can also, of course, detach it. We're simulating that using this PowerShell script here. We're detaching the application, the MSIX, from the operating system and then destaging it so that it isn't available for the user anymore. So the application is now gone again. So just to give you an example on how, in this case, are leveraging GPU and leveraging the power and the flexibility of the cloud to provide their students a way to continue their school and their working and their lessons.
Yeah, that's really cool, and we obviously see that as well. Other customers doing the same thing, but it's great to hear it directly from from one of our partners. So so this is all like pretty realistic, right, to a use case. So let's take this to the next level even more, and do some how you call it, like play hard scenarios, right? Can you share something to increase even more like the resource consumption of your Windows Virtual Desktop environment?
So I have already opened it up here, and the game that we're playing first is Command and Conquer, and this is the remastered edition of the game. If you're familiar with the original game, it was released in 1995, but it was recently being remastered with better graphics and better audio, and to give the user a new rebranded version, a remastered version of the original game. So once it opens up, you can always see that there's a pretty good experience even for this intro right now. But let's go ahead and launch the actual game here to see some of the gameplay. So right now we're playing Command and Conquer from within our Windows Virtual Desktop session, and again leveraging the GPU. So in this case, we are using that NV6 machine again, which is probably even way more powerful than what is needed for this game. But as you can see, it's a fluent experience. It's the gameplay that we're all used to. I used to play this game back in 1995, so it's great to see that back in a virtual machine. And this is using the Windows client. So the next thing I want to actually show you is leveraging that same workload from the web access client. So here we are logging on to web access, and we're now reconnecting to that same virtual machine. So providing our username and password, logging on, and we're now playing that same game even from within our web browser. Even things like the audio direction is coming through, and you see me switch a couple of times between the older graphics and the new graphics. That's a capability within this remastered game to sort of show you what the graphics looked like in 1995 and are looking at right now. So this was one of my more fun demos to create. Obviously, I got a lot of attention with it as well. So
Yeah, so so I know you have more in store, right? So
I do.
Let's
show us the good
one.
stuff.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's now switch to a heavy application, and let's, in this case, use Flight Simulator 2020, which was also recently released, and we're now going to open it up from within Windows Virtual Desktop. So as the game starts to load, we'll be able to see and fly around the world from within our Windows Virtual Desktop session. So there's a funny thing about this game is that not only is it really resource intensive in terms of GPU and CPU and memory, but also a lot of storage is needed to even be able to install this game. And I ran into that because, and you can actually see some of the graphics in the introduction, but I ran into that because I was using a standard VM with an OS disk of 127 gigabytes, which apparently isn't enough to store the entire game on that machine. So I had to expand the OS disk before I was even able to install the game. So as the introduction now finishes, let's go ahead and actually start flying. So we did progress this bar, obviously, because it takes like at least 10 minutes to be able to load this huge game. So we did speed that up a little bit for this demo. But right now you're looking at the Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, and we are about to fly off. So it was interesting to see that the game actually did work and was leveraging a lot of the CPU. In this case, we're using the NV24 machine, which contains 4 dedicated M60 GPUs. We'll show you some of the telemetry in just a second. But let's first take off. And I am not an experienced flyer, so I will leave the flying to my co-pilot in this case. So we're switching back to the co-pilot to be able to take us off this airport and well, see something of the sky and the Netherlands from above. So there we go. So I'm going to open 2 dialog boxes here. Actually, going to close this one first, and then open up the GPU so that we can see that in the bottom right there we have those 4 dedicated GPUs available. We're not even using all of them. We're just using 2 in this scenario. But it gives you a good indication that it's a heavy game in terms of GPU. So we see some of the telemetry data in terms of frames per second and the bandwidth we are using. And this was one of my earlier tests that I did with the first version of the game. Eventually, new updates for the game came out, and I also updated to Windows 10 2004. I updated the NVIDIA driver and also updated the game itself. And even the frame rates are starting to ramp up to 23 and even 27 frames per second at that time. So it's pretty cool to see, well, in this case, Schiphol Airport and a part of Amsterdam within our Windows Virtual Desktop session. So talking about play hard, I think this is, well, this is coming close, right?
Definitely. I mean, any kind of AAA class video game title being able to play in WVD, I mean, that's incredible to have that kind of performance in the cloud. Makes other things like the xCloud gaming and all of that, realistic, and that you could do all this yourself. What about any other fun scenarios with WVD we can show?
Yeah, there's one more fun, and I think we've saved that one for the last. Is we've seen playing games from within Windows Virtual Desktop. So the Command & Conquer and even the flight simulator, it was running and it was performing pretty good. So I was thinking a couple of weeks ago is why not turn that around? And instead of playing a game from within Windows Virtual Desktop, let's try to leverage Windows Virtual Desktop from within a game. And that's the next demo I want to show you today. This game has been out there for many, many years. My kids are playing it as well. It allows you to build worlds like sceneries and buildings and nature and stuff like that. So we're going to leverage that to see some of Windows Virtual Desktop from within that game. So we're launching the game, and we're going to log on and start the world that I called the WVD world. And if you're familiar with Minecraft, you will probably recognize the world once it shows here. This is your average Minecraft world, right? We have the grass, the trees, the animals, a small house here, and well, some animals that I placed in this little farm. But more interestingly, if the user now turns around, there is a huge screen here showing what appears to be a screenshot of the WebAccess client. But it is, in fact, not a screen shot. It is a live running version, so able to interact with it, click on it, while still being in the game, and logging on to this Windows Virtual Desktop machine. So conveniently, there is a keyboard available in this machine, in this world as well. So I enter in my username, and I'm switching now to the password. And again, using the same keyboard to add my password here. And obviously, I should have forced myself to use MFA, even in my own world. But for the sake of the demo, I did not. But here is Windows Virtual Desktop running from within the game.
Oh, wow.
And I was impressed, even myself, when I saw this for the first time. They said you're able to take a look at it from different angles and to see how it actually works. And it really shows as a good experience. So we can actually interact with it as well, open up applications, in this case, the Windows Explorer, and interact with it. Obviously, I have to fly towards the screen to be able to click something, but that's not important. The idea here is that we're actually leveraging Windows Virtual Desktop from within a game. So yeah, I was impressed by the graphics and the brightness of the screen from within this world. And during the creation of this demo, it's also started to rain a couple of times, so I had to switch those weather things off, but you could actually see the rain coming down on the screen while we're still looking at it. So that was another fun experiment to do. So yeah, did that. Well, how do you enjoy that?
You used or anything extra that's special about this setup?
Yeah, so in this case, I'm leveraging the Minecraft game from my local machine, and I'm logging on to the web access of the web access of Windows Virtual Desktop. And in this case, it is also a GPU empowered machine, but for this demo, it doesn't really matter because, as you've seen, it's not about the performance on this screen. As you have like a lot of frames that you need, it starts to stutter, obviously, but yeah, that's the setup that I used. So I used a couple of custom building blocks that allow you to build this screen and then attach a virtual computer on it. And the other interesting thing is that I've been doing this demo a couple of times, obviously, in the past as well. And when I was looking towards the monitoring of this Windows Virtual Desktop environment, the log analytics and the Azure monitoring, I could actually tell which client they were using to connect to this machine, and it was a Windows 8 machine running a Chrome browser. So that was an interesting detail to see. But yeah, a lot of fun creating this demo for sure.
That's great. Lots of great examples of working hard and playing hard. Thanks, Freek. Can you tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you, maybe follow you on social media?
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to connect on both LinkedIn and Twitter at Berson if you want to connect. Feel so free to check out my blog post, the Microsoft Platform .net, and yeah, happy to connect and engage and talk about this stuff some more as well.
That's great. Thanks very much. And thank you for joining us today for the second episode of Desktops in the Cloud. Be sure that you subscribe to our channel here so that you get all of our latest updates. Hit the notification bell. Give us some comments down below on how you want to see us use this channel. And if you want to get on Desktops in the Cloud, go to our website and submit the form there or contact us on social media. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode.